The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle.
I send my car date to the future, but I keep on looking back. 'Cause in my rearview mirror, it's a ghost of Christmas past, trying to flag me down. You know we all felt this before.
Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is episode 112, and our guest is Laney Jones. Laney is a singer and songwriter from Central Florida who now makes her home in Nashville. Her outstanding new record, Stories Up High, was released on May 20th, 2022. We recorded this episode just before Laney's record release party at Will's Pub here in Orlando, Florida. She came over to the house, and it immediately felt like I was talking with a dear, trusted friend. We went deep on the creative process, mental health, and the making of Stories Up High, among many topics. She was so sweet to our crazy rescue pup conundrum. Everyone, I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to bring you my conversation with Laney Jones.
I know I'm like the wise oak, standing generations tall, and all of my family, all of my history, and all of the friends I've known, all of the pets I've owned, all of the books I've read, the music that fills my head, I carry them with me wherever I go. I'm not alone.
No one right.
Oh, this sounds good right here.
Okay.
Yep, perfect. Laney, thank you. Your record's so wonderful.
Thanks,
Like,
Jason.
it's not just wonderful. It's like that might even be selling it short. It's really it is impactful. It's gorgeous. I've listened to it probably 10 times in the last 24 hours on top of the other times I've listened to it. And there's so much to it that I love, and I'm looking forward to diving in. But I just first want to just say congratulations and thank you, because this record is so
Aw,
beautiful.
Thank you. That means a lot. I mean, I haven't really shared it with many people, and I've been working on it for probably a little too long. But I'm glad though. I'm glad I didn't settle, and I'm glad it's drenched with my spirit and all that good stuff. And oh, poor little buddy, come on. You.
I'm gonna take him all the way outside because he's just gonna be in your face the whole time.
Oh, I mean, I don't really mind, truthfully. Yeah, let's just do it. Hello, sir. Are you gonna call him?
Be good, bud. Good boy. We shake. Oh, good job, buddy. Good touch. Not your penis,
I'll
but-
touch my other parts.
I touch it all the time, Dad.
Yeah. There's a fine lady in the house.
I gotta get ready.
I gotta
I'm
get
proud of
my game
myself.
face on.
Oh, you're gonna fit in just fine here. So we were, before my dog was licking his penis, we're talking about the record, how beautiful it is. You mentioned how long it's taken, and well, first of all, how you feeling? Record's gonna come out this week, and your record release show is coming up. You're on tour. You played Jacksonville last night. How you feeling at this moment with this thing that you've been working on for so long that is so beautiful, and you're about to unleash into the world? Right now, how are you feeling?
It's funny. I just feel like I'm in the right place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I keep saying this, but that writers write what they need to hear. But I think it's true. A lot of the songs that they deal with are sort of mantras about just happy with where you're at in this space and time, and I think, and also gratitude. And I think that's a big thing.
Conundrum.
Thank you, Mr. Conundrum.
Conundrum, bud.
I'm very grateful.
I don't want to have to take you back outside, buddy. You're doing really good.
No, he's doing awesome.
Doing really good, but I don't know if the people listening want to hear just him lapping up your face for 40 minutes. You gonna be good, bud? Last chance. You a good boy? Oh, good job, bud. Good job. Why don't you just lay down? You can just lay down and cuddle with Laney. That'd be great. All right.
He can't keep his paws off me.
We tried. She's irresistible. Okay, so I'm really interested in that. That idea of being in such a good place, and what, like, good for you, first of all. That's awesome. And I wonder, like, what's contributing to that? Is there work that you're doing on yourself to get there? Is it just a set of circumstances where you're just really fortunate at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a mix of both. Over the years, I think I've always been a person, even since I was a little kid, a thinker, in the sense of I'm the youngest of my family by, like, I feel like a decade. Of my other siblings have, like, siblings from other, just other, obviously mothers. From another mother, another sister, another brother. And I think that kind of contributes to this, like, natural sort of, like, loneliness, or, like, where do I fit in and everything. So I had a lot of time by myself, I think, even as a young kid, to reflect on who do I want to be. And I think for me, I've been really working on that, who I want to be. And I think musically, it's gotten, me kind of bummed out over the past some years, just because I think, like, there's a lot of stuff. Like, I write some pops music, and it sounds obnoxious, but it's really easy for me, but it doesn't feel like necessarily me in some ways. And so it's like, but I don't want to fit in the box. I don't want to do what's easy. I want to say something that, to me, is that a little harder to say, because I think I know I'm capable of saying it. It's just figuring out how to do it is the hard. It's like it's a code I'm working on cracking. I'm just trying. Yeah, it's been bothering me and going in my head, and so this is the amalgamation of this out record, is those thoughts about healing and how to find your place in the universe, and realizing it's okay to be you. And, like, I think that's, like, really a hard thing for people, especially just as we're young and middle-aged or whatever. We're still finding our spot in the world. We haven't made our little mark yet that this is us. And so I think it's really scary. It's really it's intimidating. Life is, when you don't have it defined. It's undefined,
Oh, that's so true. I've been reflecting on this a lot. I think I'm a little bit older than you, and I think, like, I picture where I was, say, 10 years ago, and what I valued and what was important to me, and the trajectory of my life. And then I think about where I am now, and the priorities haven't necessarily shifted a ton. I still have kind of a similar sort of compass, I guess, moral compass and otherwise. But the way I interact with the world now, and granted, there's the pandemic and so many other things have happened since then, the Trump years and so forth, that have kind of, intervened in some of that progress in ways. But right now in my life at 41, I feel like I am still so in need of growth and so in need of learning. And so, and I think when you're younger, you look at things and you're like, who am I going to be? And you almost picture, like, that 40-ish range, right? Where you're like, well, this is who I'm going to be at that point. And I don't have a clue, what's going to happen 10 years from now or 15 years from now or 20 years from now. And coming to peace with that is very difficult, but it's also incredibly important.
Oh, for
Right?
sure. Well, I think it's also too, it allows you, like, you need to tear down your expectations and have more wonder and more of just that life is really a dream. So you can dream who you want to be, but don't have that expectation of it, that the universe, like, we're all just free falling. And rather than trying to control it, I kind of had this weird realization. Actually, the last time I went into the record, and it was at the end of 2020, I had this kind of real moment of breakthrough and complete joy, because I was really struggling with depression and some health issues. And I just kind of realized, like, I literally said, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to let this depression rule me and these thoughts to rule me. And from there, with that switch, being so determined, I think that's, I sought help. I got some medication that helped just, I think, reorient my brain chemically, because I really did need it. And then also, too, just like one of my lyrics in the song Long Way, wise men said, you better watch your step, mind the words that you say in your head. Long way, long way, long way, you get fat on what you're fed. So I really, every morning,
So good.
it is, and it's kind of sounds funny, but it's true. Like, I do a little Macarena in the shower under some cold water, get the blood flowing, and then too, I say thank you, literally, to, like, all the parts of my body. Thank you,
great.
head. Thank you, like, hands. We're gonna do this stuff together. We're gonna make some stuff happen, and it's gonna be a wonderful day each day. And there's just, and I think too, now I'm looking with that mentality in mind now. It's like everything that happens, we're just all free falling in the universe. And if something goes unexpected that I didn't want it to happen, like maybe, I accidentally break my harmonica or flub, whatever, instead of trying to control it in that one way, I instead take it as an opportunity to do it a different way.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that sort of gratitude practice you outlined there. And that cold water thing, I've heard that a couple of times. Does that work? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, of course. I do think it. I don't actually take cold showers all the time, but I usually end on cold water.
Okay.
And just, I think it also, too, it makes, by forcing yourself to have something that's a little bit, like, pressure or more intense, it makes life, once you get out, so much easier.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Michael McDermott said that, the songwriter Michael McDermott. That's one of the things he does. But he just takes straight up cold showers. And he's like, it just shocks all of your senses. And so then when I get out, I'm like, all right, world, let's do this. Like, I'm ready.
There
let's
you
get
go.
it. So good for you. I'm so happy for you that you recognize the depression, that you addressed it, that you're working through it. We talk about mental health a lot on the show. And I'm interested in whether or not having done so has impacted your creative process one way or the other.
It's hard to say. I think actually it probably has really helped me, truthfully, even though the majority of these songs were written in a state of depression, like maybe like half of them, I was just at home, sitting in my living room, either playing on my piano or sitting on my grandma's couch, and just letting whatever just hit me in the gut. I write from a flow kind of state where I have whatever instrument in my hand, and it just comes like flickers in, and as the more you kind of listen to it and latch onto it, there's like when it gets really good, it's just whoa. It's crazy how the words come together, and it's not really something that I necessarily strung together. It's just like, wow, that's really good, and I don't know how that happened.
Wow.
Is how I feel about
Yeah.
songwriting. We're just word vomit.
That's really interesting because you're an outstanding writer, and so like the idea that it would just be word vomit, there has to be things that are going into that. So like, what kind of things are you consuming? Like, are you a reader? Are you like watching films? Like, what are you to get into that flow state? What are the things that are informing that vomit, that word vomit?
Like, you gotta be eating some good stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. I do watch. I have not right now, but I do read. I listen to podcasts.
Nice.
Yeah, listen to music, movies, all that good stuff. Art, just even reflecting. I bought my first, I feel like, real piece of art, and it's
fun.
actually by Andrew Combs.
Uh-huh.
I got it. He is an awesome musician.
Yeah.
And I live in Nashville, and they're having an art show. Courtney Marie Andrews is a friend. She's dating a friend, and and so I got invited to the art show at this cool little scene in Nashville, and I saw this art. I spent too much money that I shouldn't be, but it was just really cool, and like those moments are so rare that you get an opportunity to support something that is just so unique, and to me that's really exciting. So.
Oh,
I had to do it. It's like, how many moments in my life will I get to do this?
100%. As the partner of an artist, I appreciate that you're spending the money on it, because I think it is hard to make that decision. Art is very expensive, right? Especially if you're talking about like a painting. But the person who created that work put so much into it. It's the constant sort of challenge with music also is how much work you put into it, and then how difficult it is to then monetize that in a way that is commiserate with what the work that you put in. So I want to kind of back up a little bit to like tracing your life to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in sort of the moment that you decided, like, I'm going to go this music route. Can you talk a little bit about like making the decision, where you were, what was going on, that you went, you know what, my life, here's what it looks like. I'm headed toward music, because that's something we wrestle with a lot on the show and creatives wrestle with a ton, is like making the decision to go for it, because it can be very scary and it can be very nerve-wracking. So can you talk about like making that decision and sort of how you got to that place?
Yeah. So I'll back up a few years, more almost a decade before where I'm at now. When I was in high school, and ever since I was young, I think I always loved the creative fields, loved drawing. I love listening to music, but I didn't grow up with performers or anything around me. I did get really involved in theater throughout all my middle school and high school. I went to an arts high school in Jacksonville for a little bit.
Which one?
Douglas Anderson School
right
of the
on.
Arts.
Yeah.
And it was really informative, but it was also so overwhelming. I think I got burnt out from trying so hard in school as like almost valedictorian, sort of thing, and just studying, but kind of not feeling the real necessarily meaning behind it. Like I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt fulfilled when I was doing like community theater in Mount Dora, because it was like this big friend group that you got to make art and put it on with your friends, and to me that's what is so exciting about art in general, and especially like music and putting on shows, it's that you're creating something with other people, and then you invite other people in that little world, and you're just playing. We're all playing together, and I've always been in love with that, and I think that experience of doing theater has turned into music for me.
Interesting.
But when I got into college, like I really was so burnt out. Like I didn't even necessarily apply to schools. I was pretty much, I think I like graduated like third or fourth in my whole school, and that means like taking a whole bunch of honors classes and stuff like that.
At Douglas Anderson?
At Douglas
Wow.
Anderson.
For folks listening, that's a pretty competitive place to be doing that well.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time just studying and trying to be smart.
Yeah.
But
You gotta try.
I had to try. Yeah, it didn't come that easy, but yeah. But I got so burnt out. I didn't, like, my mom actually helped me with my college applications because I was just depressed, you know. I didn't know. I felt done. I felt washed up.
Interesting.
Even out of going out of high
18,
school.
17, 18.
Yeah, 17 years old. So
Damn.
I went to Rollins College because my parents live in Mount Dora, so it was close to home, and it was still a great school. I got scholarships, and it was a great place to be. And it's a liberal arts school, so even though I did business, I did international business because that's what my parents said. Like, just do that, and it's in everything. I quickly realized, like, business, wearing suits, this is not for me.
Right on.
But I
there.
still graduated with my international business degree.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is I started writing. I picked up a guitar. And my first like relationship, you know, mingling sort of thing. And after my second semester, I just started writing ditties and started writing songs. And as soon as that happened, just a way, as like a form of therapy, it just felt so freaking good to me. And then from there, I showed some of my parents, friends or whatever. I started going to coffee shops. I went to Austin's Coffee down.
Right on.
Yeah,
Austin's
down
Coffee,
in-
Winter Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's this place, it's not there anymore, in Eustis, Florida, called Olivia's Coffee Shop, that they had a great folk singer-songwriter open mic there. So I'd go there every Friday night, and to Austin's every Tuesday. And so it was just like this release, and it was this way of just having a little bit of something to share and then being part of a community. And I got addicted to that. But part of my program for my international business degree, my major for that, my major of my language was actually Mandarin Chinese. So I studied abroad in Shanghai for about 6 months, and that was in my junior year. And I really missed music.
Wow.
And while I was over there, I actually had a little ukulele that I bought here that said made in China, and I packed it in my bag, brought it over to China, then brought it back, and I ended up selling it at a show to help, pay for stuff along the road. But when I came back after that, that's when I decided I want to do music. Like, if I'm going to put my effort into anything, I want it to be something that I want to do. And I was getting such good feedback, even from being such a newbie at the craft of songwriting and playing. And I just decided I just want to keep trying at this because I don't know. I couldn't help it.
So this is so interesting because like Rollins, you're at Rollins. Rollins is like, for folks listening, is like a well-known liberal arts private school here. Mr. Rogers famously went there.
Yeah.
You're studying international business. There's a type there. There's like a thing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
There's a type of hyper-driven person that's doing that track kind of thing, right? Driven in that way. And then to make the shift to music is on its face, at least, quite the 180, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of talked about it as like, well, I just had to. Like, was there a wrestling back and forth that you went through? Were there conversations you were having with people? It takes a lot of courage, I would say, to make that decision, to go, I'm headed down this international business path. It ain't for me. I'm going to go this other direction, but it's quite a risk to do that.
Absolutely. I think, well, also, too, I know I'm very, very fortunate as far as I had a scholarship to Rollins, so I wasn't risking my butt on the line with that. And, two, it was a liberal arts school as well, and I think, truthfully, if that's an advertisement for Rollins, is that I got to do so many different classes while I was there, too. Like, I studied, like, Buddhist philosophy or like writing about comedy. I did some honors program for a little bit, so I got to read all these weird books and stuff. I did ecotourism class, so
Dope.
it got me, expanded my brain as well, so I wasn't just stuck in that world. I did music too there. Now they have a songwriting program there, and it's Dan Flick is one of the teachers who started it, and he had a little club there. It was just a club, and now it's a whole track. I think it's even like an actual thing at Rollins now.
Cool.
And I think it's actually because people like me who were just trying to find, I think, just a voice. I really think songwriting is, to me, a blend of actual writing, but then also for me it's also a form of philosophy, is how I look at songwriting for my own self, and music, obviously.
That's really interesting. That's also not only a commercial for Rollins, but just for the idea that people should have access to a college degree if they want it, and not have to be burdened by the financial aspect of it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Because there are so many moments, like, I think back to my own college life was a fucking mess, but I eventually graduated and eventually went on to grad school, and I'm going back again. Yeah. But through that whole journey, there was basically like my senior year that I got it right. You know, it was kind of a mess the whole time.
Yeah.
And then my senior year, I got it right. And what I got right was I truly treated college as a full-time job. I had a part-time job working at a tennis shop or whatever, but I truly treated it like I got up, I did the work, I stayed on campus all day. I like went to every single lecture, every single like free lecture, you know, they'd bring in speakers, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's free concerts all the time on college campuses. And the first 3 years I was in college, I didn't do that. I was chasing girls and like trying to, you know, partying too much and just doing not. And I was reading and going to class, but not really, not the way that. If you truly take advantage of it, how much it can expand your mind, how much it can open up a belief that there's something other than the traditional track, whatever that traditional track is, or what those expectations were. Did you feel expectations from other people? Were your parents putting any pressure on you at all? Like when your decision to go into music rather than to do the business route, was that met by people around you in one way or another?
Well, I mean, I got my business degree, so I had to finish out. There was that expectation of that for sure. And I definitely, met along the way. Just like I had teachers who were not very, I guess, supportive of different things. But just as far as, I remember like being asked like be in the honor society for this like business program, and I was like I'm not gonna waste that money on that. It's kind of was just like this awakening point for my own self. Truthfully, it's like this is all like we're just buying into the system, know. And it was kind of one of those things that I just don't want to buy into this, and I'm not going. It doesn't matter to me. Who gives whatever. Yeah. But yeah, and also too, I mean, the way it kind of worked out with me, as far as like I had a great scholarship for Rollins, and I knew like I really did not want to do that. Truthfully, I did not want to do business, and that was the expectation for me and my parents, who kind of made a deal, because I got into this really cool school over in, I think it was Scotland, for theater.
Oh, cool.
And I auditioned when I was a junior in high school, and I was like, I really want to do that, but I was obviously a junior, so I couldn't go over there. And then also too, it was just like, oh, that stuff costs money. So my parents, we kind of made this deal that, okay, you go get a normie degree, you know, with some scholarship money and all that shit stuff, and then if you still want to do the theater school afterwards, we'll help you with that.
Right.
But for me, I fell in love with music during that time. And so for me, I had heard about this school called Berklee College of Music.
Of course.
While I took some side vocal lessons still at Rollins, just trying to keep, because I always sang, but I never had written or played any instruments really, besides like the one, piano lessons where I had like panic attacks, trying to play for people.
Yeah. Recitals and the whole bit.
Oh yeah, no, and yeah, I didn't last long. I had one recital ever.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so I had heard about it. The seed got planted at Berklee, and I fell in love with the writer Gillian Welch and David Rollins.
Oh yeah.
And I heard that they went there and had met there actually. So once I heard that, after I was graduating from Rollins, I was only applying to one school, and it was just to the undergraduate at Berklee, because such a new player and writer, and I got in. I applied early. Wow. I made a whole secret CD with most, and I sent it all in. A professor at Rollins helped me put together. Dan Flick helped me put together it, and I got like the highest songwriting scholarship you could get there, and so that helped. And I went to Berklee for a couple years.
Wow.
And I that truthfully, that has sustained me up until this point, because that's where I learned how to do songwriting and pop songwriting in particularly. Yeah. And that's what keeps my lights on, if I'm being honest, is just being able to collaborate with people in that other way that's not my inner world. You've just heard my inner world with the record that I'm just releasing now, but I write all of the other stuff, and that's all collaborations with people, and it's exciting. And my own record's a collaboration too, but it's a deeper, darker world.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting, because your self-titled record from 2016 I hear more of the pop sensibility than I hear on this record, even though it's not like this record is devoid of hooks. It's not like this record isn't a sing-along kind of thing. It's not like this record doesn't get you moving. It just is a much more introspective sounding record than the last one, which is also wonderful, but they're very different as I hear them. Yeah. And I'm interested in that, like how it is part of that what you mentioned earlier. Is it more what you mentioned earlier, which is the idea of like, you needed to explore this side of your creativity. You needed to go to this place. Or is it a function of sort of like just the intervening 6 years and like whatever has happened in your life in those intervening 6 years, or maybe something else? Like, do you hear that same difference? And also, what do you think contributes to it?
I definitely could see that and hear that. And I think what contributes to it is just not giving anything, you know? Yeah. Before, when you're younger, you're so susceptible to peer pressure. And with the record before, I had some people in my life that were kind of pushing me one way or the other. And that's when I had to let that go. I had to cut myself off from those people, because I couldn't be my real voice. And without being your real voice and letting it flow through you, whatever it is, it's just like I said, you can't control it.
Yeah.
You can't control your free falling of the universe because it's just going to come back to bite you.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, I needed to listen to my actual creativity, and this record is that.
That is so wonderful. How difficult was it to cut ties with those folks or to get those folks out of your sort of creative orbit?
It was rough, man. But the thing is, it's like they're doing well, and that's awesome. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm really happy for myself too, because I'm really proud of where I'm at, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm excited, and it's cool because I'm with people now who I feel like support my true voice.
Oh, wow.
And that, to me, that's just really exciting.
That is incredibly exciting. Good for you. That is incredibly exciting. So learning how to write pop songs and writing those pop songs, and then versus the process now. You mentioned earlier how much it's such a flow for you and how it comes out. When you're writing, when you approach a pop song, is it a similar kind of flow, or is there more of a formulaic discipline to it? Like how are those things different, if at all, those processes?
Yeah, I think there's more of a goal, I think, behind it. And with this record, the goal, it's kind of like life. And funny enough, I feel like this record is just like a slice of my life, you know, or a slice of the meaning of life. But with pop writing songs, there's just sort of this goal in mind of you want it to be this kind of vibe. And usually for that too, rather than just free flowing whatever comes out, I sometimes, because I'm usually working with a producer on those, I listen to the vibe, and then I call it a word salad, where I just write all like fun words down, and then from there I start coming up with it is a free form, but it's more like I come up with melodies, and I can have just these words to pull from, you know. And there's a vibe, and there's sort of a goal, and there's always, you know, the formula is the chorus, you know. There's always some sort of chorus that's very just, that's what it is, or it's very simple, and you know, there's certain melodic hooks, and there's a form. Versus like the title track of the Stories Up High, I don't like, I that came out really fast, that song, and I like, my husband Brian is like, that's one of the best songs you've ever written, but I like, to me, my like little songwriter brain, but I'm like, I don't know what form this is, like I don't know what this is, and so I was kind of, I went in the studio a time before, and I didn't record that song because I was just like, I don't know what this is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you make those decisions on the record? What did you have, like what stayed and what didn't?
Yeah, no, I actually went into the studio like 3 times, and my second time that I went in, none of it made the record. And then, or in some of those songs, instead of using the record or the studio recording, I actually just scratched away with it and recorded at my house with me and Brian, and it just kind of came together. I mean, I had ideas multiple times throughout the process of working on it. I had at one point making this like a 30-song record, truthfully, because I had so many songs, and I do believe in all the songs. They're just, it's finding out how to record them to serve the song. That's, I think, like the biggest thing that I learned, that I've been working on throughout this whole time, is that I was learning how to serve the song through recording and musically.
Yeah.
Because I think my songs have always been there, because I don't think they come from me. They come from some other magical place.
Okay.
And they are fully formed, but I am not. And I'm just the person that it flows through. And so I'm trying to get it right to serve that greater thing out there.
What do you think that is? Are you a spiritual person? Are you a religious person? Like, what do you think that, or is it magic? What do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I have some, past trauma from ascribing to actual religious stuff, just from being in, schools and hearing that, my gay friends will be burned in hell and all of that BS. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't ascribe to that, but I think life is nothing but magic, baby.
Nonsense thinks it's nothing but magic.
It's all nonsense. It's all magic to me.
Yeah, it is. Show off your stretches. There you go.
Yeah, I really think there's just so much wonder in the world that we're even here to get to share this conversation together, and the fact that it's being recorded and then done on your phone, and it's all that just crazy stuff out there that who's to say what it all means? It's kind of like what they say about any kind of story. It doesn't make sense until it's done with. It's like you can only live it going forward, but it'll only make sense going backwards. Is that I'm quoting that right, or what is it?
I don't know that one.
You don't know it?
I don't think so.
It must be lived forward, but to understand it, you have to look at it backwards or something.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
It's more eloquent than that, but that's what I think. That to me, I think actually making this record made me more spiritual. I think I was kind of like, because of all that stuff, I kind of shut myself off and kind of was like, I think I might be an atheist or whatever, but I really don't think that. Like, I believe in something. I believe there's magic all around. I think we can't see it. We can't, unless, you're really attuned, and there's vibrations that we know this. I think there's magic, and science just hasn't been able to prove it yet, as far as just spiritual stuff. That, because there's all these particles, if you think about it, that there's all these particles that are moving all the time. Your glass it's moving all the time. We can't feel it, we can't see it with our brains and our eyes, but it's there. And I think there's all these waves that are passing back and forth, frequencies between each other. And I think that's why, like, when good vibes, lower vibrations, I think there is real truth to that I'm just seeking to be on a high vibration.
I love that. That's why I'm so grateful that you came over, right? Like, if we did this on Zoom, it'd be fine. Right, we'd have a good. Clearly, we are gonna have a good conversation, right?
Yeah,
we're
simpaticos.
We're 40 minutes deep, and it feels like talking to a friend.
Yeah.
But there is a difference in sharing that energy and being in the same room with somebody, and the same is so true of music, right? You can make a piece of a track and send it to your friend, who then plays, a piece, and it works. A lot of people do it really, really well. But there's just no substitute for being in the room with somebody,
for
sure, and feeding off of their energy and being able to see their facial expressions and to experience those expressions, not just as a physical manifestation, but as something that we're exchanging in terms of energy. It makes such a difference when we're in the room with each other. And yeah, I think that sounds like you're at a good place when it comes to that kind of concept of spirituality, right? Where you're sort of like, maybe still exploring, but you've kind of come to a good kind of mile marker, it seems like, and that the record kind of helps with that.
Absolutely. Well, and two, I think Buddhist philosophy, that course, Mr. Anthony D'Amato, I think I'm saying, maybe, I don't know, it's Professor D'Amato. To me, I think the idea that I thought from that was really interesting, that life is, pain and struggling, and we're searching for samsara, nirvana, that place of just finding peace. And I really think nirvana, heaven, can be experienced here on earth. Granted, there's life situations that are really freaking messed up that you can't control that really freaking suck. But at the same time, too, all you can control is how you react to it and how you view it. And I think from there, that's the only way, because I feel like, I really do feel you can choose to be whoever you want to be. It's just putting your mind to it. And I know that sounds kind of corny, and I hope not insincere to anybody who's suffering at all right now. But I think it's a practice and I think we're all really powerful inside of us. We have the power to change our lives, you know?
I 100% agree with you, and I think it resonates with me what you said about sort of like you hope that doesn't sound insincere to somebody who might be going through some really heavy stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is all relative, and that's another thing to kind of keep in mind too.
Yeah.
You know, as we approach how we're reacting to things, is the idea that like my reaction to it is going to be informed by everything I've experienced in my life. I told you how I went home this past weekend, and just kind of going through some things, and I did not react well. I just didn't, you know, and I'm not beating myself up about it. I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, okay, I know why I did that. What I did didn't really harm anybody. My reactions didn't really harm anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's just that it's not how I would have liked to have reacted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was I just wouldn't have liked to have reacted that way. And to look back on it at this point in my life, I've come to a place where I'm like, okay, next time, not going to do that. Next time I'm going to react differently. Because also now I've been in that space, right? I've had that experience. Yeah. And so it's a lot easier to react to something you've already experienced. But if you're in regular practice of reacting in a way that you are proud of or that you do feel comfortable with, it's a lot. You're less likely to react negatively. And that was one of my big takeaways from this past weekend, as I was like, I haven't been practicing yoga. I haven't been meditating. These are all things that really, really help me. I have not been writing like I normally do.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't been picking up my guitar. You know, all these things that really help me to get in that place so that my reactions are more positive, or my reactions are more focused on what can I control and how am I going to control those things, rather than being beholden to outside forces.
Yeah. Well, and too, don't beat yourself up too,
Sure.
you know? Like
Sure.
And like too, it's not.
But that can be hard.
It can be so hard, and especially too if you're just frustrated in the moment or whatever. It's so easy to feel that way, and I definitely feel that way. Sometimes I get, even just like nervous about performing or whatever, or just like worried, is this gonna be a good show or not or whatever. But then, the thing is when you're in the moment, though, it actually becomes like a magical, wonderful thing. And I think, like, we're going back, it's all about expectations. Mm-hmm. You can't go in with a certain expectation, and because then it's never, whichever way, it's never gonna, it just doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. You can't have expectations for your life. Or else, you can make plans, but you don't be afraid to break them. Break them. There's power in that. That's another line from a song. Remember? But the record, man.
Record's full of wisdom. This is how we get there.
Yeah.
This is how we get there. That's a very Zen concept too. That idea of detaching from outcomes.
Yeah.
But it's practice. It's so much practice. Like when I'm in that kind of, speaking of flow, when you're in that flow of detaching from outcomes, you're so much more present in the moment, and you do better work, right? Like if you're just staying in the moment and you're detached from the outcome, and you're reminding yourself of that. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I need to, in the morning, like during my morning pages, just remind myself like to detach from outcomes today, and just do the work, whatever it is that you're doing, just doing the work, because ultimately it ends up being the best when I'm not worried about what it looks like on the other end. If I'm just worried about this task at hand, right?
Yeah.
Like if I was thinking about how I was going to edit this while I was talking to you, that wouldn't make for a very compelling conversation because I'd be too distracted. Whereas if I'm in this present moment, it's a lot. And I'm guilty of that sometimes, right? Where I will be thinking about like that I need to edit out conundrum,
Yeah.
About 40% of the time I have to edit out conundrum. But it being in that present moment, then, this conversation I'm proud of already. And I know it's going to come out well because we've been, focused in this moment and detached from the outcome and just allowing it to flow the way that needs to flow.
Totally. Yeah. And I remember, I follow on Instagram because you have to do the socials like everybody else these days. And the thing is, just never close. Like always remain open. And that's really the key in all of your life. If you can just ride the wave of enjoying whatever you're doing, even if it's just working out and you don't want to, or taking out the garbage or whatever. Once you ascribe some meaning behind it, that I'm doing this so I'll have a better house, or I'm putting in this run that I really suck because I want to be a healthier person. I want to live longer. And I'm doing this because for a reason that really matters to you, then everything becomes enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it makes everything, allows you to be way more open, you know, and way more present in everything.
100%. Oh, that's beautiful. I don't want to take too much. We've almost gone an hour, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, it's been great though. You've lightened up me too, because I was getting kind of sleepy. I had the post lunch coma.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad not that you had the post lunch coma, but that I got you pepped up. What do you consume? So we talked earlier about what kinds of things in general you consume. We usually like to end on the art that has you fired up at the moment. So the painting you just talked about, which is really exciting. Is there a record you've been listening to? Is there a book you've read, a film? Could be a podcast. Something's got you fired up right now.
Yeah. Well, so for record store day, my husband got Remembering Dolores by it's the Cranberries record, in remembrance, and he's been putting it on every morning at the house, and the first song on it, I think it's called Perfect Day, and it's so good. It's that whole record. It's obviously nice. It's just select songs from their catalog, but I hadn't really explored it that much besides the hits.
Yeah.
And that's been just making me feel really nice every morning. Also, too, I don't do these every day like I should, but it is a practice that I really did. I've had points where I felt really on fire, and that's really helped describe my mental sort of thought pattern. Is there's a thing called the 5 Tibetan rites, and I learned about it through this book by James Nestor called it's either called Breathe or Breath. It's, I guess, how you say it, or maybe there's an E, I don't know. But I learned about how breathing, just in general, it's another form of food for your body. That's why we all have noses, so we can consume. And a lot of times when you have social anxiety too, or just you tend to hold your breath actually while looking at your phone so much. And so some reason you start having this anxiety for some reason. And if you actually just hold your breath for a little while and you breathe with purpose, makes you feel so much better. It really helps with anxiety.
So simple and so powerful.
Yeah. And
I start every class period with my kids. I teach middle schoolers. I start every class period with "We take deep breaths." Right? Even just now talking about it and doing it, I feel better.
it feels so good. It's just like a nice shot of minty coolness to the dome, you know?
Yeah. The energy level, everything. I mean, and talk about bringing yourself back to the present moment. I mean, that's again why I need to get back into practicing yoga and meditation, is because it's all about that, right? Bringing your awareness back to your breath, so that you're in that moment and that you're not distracted by thinking about things you can't control, because you can only control this present moment. That's all we got right now.
Yeah.
You know? Man, that's great. Well, Laney, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. Your show's Thursday. Folks can get the pre-order the vinyl, right? Still looks beautiful. Are you gonna have copies at the show?
Unfortunately, they did not come in yet, but I actually have been talking to Park Ave CDs.
Okay.
And looking into possibly doing it in-store when I'm back in Florida in December for a festival that I'm playing, the Orange Blossom Review. So.
I totally forgot about that. My creative partner Jen Ross and I covered Orange Blossom Review last year, and we'll be there this year.
Amazing.
So we'll be there covering, and that lineup looks amazing.
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm so pumped.
You, Neil Francis, the Wood Brothers again, just burned it down last year. Margot Price, Langhorne Slim,
Son Little. Yeah.
So many great acts. So I totally forgot that you're going to be there. That's so exciting.
I'm really pumped.
That festival, I mean, and I've been fortunate to get to cover a lot of festivals and then just attend a bunch as a fan. I loved that festival. It was so chill, and they are so nice. Everybody's just like so pleasant, and it's in such a gorgeous setting. I just didn't know Lake Wales. I had buddies from there or whatever in college, but I never went to Lake Wales. You know, I went to the Bok Tower, once, and I didn't go to sort of down by Lake Wales itself and see how the sunsets there and just the whole bit. That's really exciting. I'm glad you reminded me of that. And for folks listening, it's worth a trip, even if you're out of state. Like, just a great setting, great festival, chill, just such a chill festival. And that lineup is killer. It's going to be a party.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be super great. I'm so pumped. And two, it's just amazing. I'm playing with a trio at the moment, and we're on our first 6 shows, and I'm so excited to be playing with these guys.
Cool.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how we develop, even just in these next months, by the time we get there, because we're opening for a Blitz and Trapper out west, and we're gonna be on tour like all through June into the beginning of August.
Awesome.
So we're just getting started.
Yeah,
really hustling. I'm really excited to start putting myself out there again, and I'm just excited. So.
Oh, that's fun. Blitz and Trout, I love those guys. They
have a great new record out too.
Fantastic. Yeah. Holy Smokes, Future Jokes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I got to interview Eric Earle, but it was a phoner, and the set, like 15 minutes in, he just cuts out.
Oh no.
So like I had a podcast interview with him that was delightful right about the time that record came out.
Yeah.
And then right about 15 minutes, like everything's great. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if I hit a button or just the program that I used to record it.
Better check it.
I know. Well, I think we're good. If not, we'll sit down at Orange Blossom Review, I guess. If I can talk you into it again. No. I think we're good.
It's your pleasure, man. Yeah.
Good. Laney, thank you again. So excited for you. I'm excited for folks to hear the record. It comes out Friday, so by the time this comes out, it will already have been out in the world, and folks can get the vinyl, which looks beautiful. Kind of translucent looking, kind of beautiful colors, and the artwork looks gorgeous, and the record's just outstanding. Like, you've just made an incredible record, and I'm so excited for folks to get to hear it, and I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been such a lovely conversation.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Good vibes.
Laney Jones, y'all. Thank you so much, Laney. Thank all of you for listening. What an honor. What a pleasure. I had so much fun with this conversation. We ended up going like another 30 minutes, maybe an hour, I don't know, off mic, where Laney and I were just hanging out talking about life afterward. And it just like, you know, I really look forward to the next time our paths cross. She is a bright light and so smart and so thoughtful and just makes incredible records. This record, Stories Up High, is available for purchase at laney-jones.com. Give it a spin. If you like what you hear, get you a physical copy. The vinyl looks beautiful, and it's just a wonderful record. The song you're hearing in this episode is Not Alone from Stories Up High. I also want to give a shout out to Josh from All Eyes Media for helping make this happen. Publicists are unsung heroes, and I really appreciate Josh and all the publicists that I get to work with when in making the Marinade. MarinadePodcast.com for all things the Marinade, including written pieces, photography, our online store, and more. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok. Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support the Marinade. And if you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community, where for just a few bucks a month, you can gain access to Patreon exclusive content like our show Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making the Marinade. The last few episodes of Jason's Journey have been extra special. I just dropped one last week. We also sometimes will release like extra content from a particular conversation that maybe didn't fit as a feature episode, or conversations that are a little more impromptu sometimes that I get to have with some of my friends who are songwriters or visual artists or whatever they might be doing creatively. So check that out if you can swing it. I also post What I'm Getting Down On, which is an examination of the art that is inspiring me at the moment. That's all over on Patreon, patreon.com/Marinade Podcast if you're interested. If you want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, I totally get that. You can Venmo or PayPal us at the Marinade. All the money goes right back into the show. Right now, that means saving up to cover some festivals. We've got some really cool things on the calendar, and I'm really looking forward to those opportunities. Above all, just thank you so much for listening and spreading the word about the show, everybody. Another thing I want to talk about really quickly that I've mentioned the last few weeks is a Tidal playlist I've been doing called Marinade Musings. You can just go into Tidal and type in Marinade Musings. Tidal has a free tier now, so if you were holding back from using it because you already have your Spotify playlists or your Pandora playlists or your Apple Music playlists or whatever, you can't access everything for free, right? But you can find the playlist at least, and it's a short list of songs that I find interesting, stuff I'm letting sort of marinate. Also, as this is being released, we have some cool stuff going on over on marinadepodcast.com. I would love for you to check out. My great friend and creative partner Jen Ross and I covered Waxahachie, Sheryl Crow, and Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit at the St. Augustine Amphitheater just a couple of days ago. Y'all, if an artist you love is playing the amp, go. Make plans. If you like to camp, book a campsite next door at Anastasia State Park and go. It's my favorite venue in Florida and one of my favorites anywhere. If this tour, Waxahachie, Sheryl Crow, and Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit, is coming to your town, go. I will not soon forget that night. And I'm really excited to share my thoughts and Jen's beautiful photos over on our website, marinadepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.